occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our own guest speaker and distinguished son of East Fishkill, Lieutenant Colonel Mark Baaden.
Doug, thank you for the introduction. Distinguished guests, my friends, my neighbors, and fellow Americans, I am humbled and honored that I was asked to speak and spend part of this solemn day with you. Memorial Day was established in 1868 out of the need to understand, acknowledge, and honor those that have died so that we may live as free Americans. You heard in the introduction that I have served overseas in Iraq and recently returned from a deployment to Afghanistan, and that I'm a resident of our town here in East Fishkill. While I was away, my mind would wander with thoughts of family and home, and I wondered how many times I have driven past this hill that we stand upon, this memorial, our town's tribute to those that have served and paid the ultimate sacrifice to preserve our liberty. It probably numbers in the thousands the times I have waited at that traffic light and looked upon this hill with reverence for what it represents. I would feel a debt of gratitude for those that left our town and every other town across our great nation to serve in our military, not knowing if they would ever return home again. One of those men from our town was named Charles Peter Bacon. He was nicknamed Manny. Manny was born in 1920 and grew up a short distance from where we stand, in a house on Route 376 near the Hopewell Inn. He went to grade school in a 3-room schoolhouse on Beekman Road. He attended Beacon High School. He worked on the railroad, and he served his community as a lieutenant in our very own East Fishkill Volunteer Fire Department. In 1942, Manny received his World War II induction notice to report for service in the United States Army. He took an oath to serve this nation. It is the same oath that every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine takes today, and it reads, "I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to regulations in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God." A year later, in 1943, Manny was fighting in North Africa, and his parents received a telegram that he was listed as missing in action. A second telegram followed 2 weeks later that his body had been located, and he was confirmed to have been killed in action on April 20th, 1943. Manny was buried in a makeshift military cemetery in Tunisia, far away from the home he left. Following World War II, Manny's remains were returned to the United States, and he eternally rests in Pine Lawn Cemetery on Long Island. He was 22 years old when he fell on a distant battlefield, fighting the armies of fascism and tyranny. Manny left his home not knowing if he would ever return. We can stand here today, 69 years after his death, as a free and proud people because of Manny and men like him who, since the birth of this great nation 236 years ago, have left the safety of their homes and their towns to protect the ideals we value and live by. Manny Bacon's generation 70 years ago was called the greatest generation. Fortunately, the greatness regarding their commitment to service has not died with them. Since World War II, our nation has produced citizens that volunteer to serve as soldiers who defend the rest of the population. They are the greatest of their own generations. Only a free and just society can produce such brave men and women who are willing to place themselves in harm's way for the safety and security of others. Our freedom could not have been secured by speeches, debates, and strongly worded memos of displeasure directed toward those that wish to witness or directly participate in our country's collapse and destruction. It has been defended by flesh and bone, steel and fire. Men and women who possess the rare courage to risk themselves, suffering within the range of enemy gunfire in order to protect a citizenry that most of them will never personally know. Today, those serving in our armed forces make up less than 1% of our population. Today's greatest generation carries on the tradition and values of Manny's generation. They begin life as children born of honor, respect, service, and love for family and country. They have played on ball fields and in parks like ours in this beautiful town. As they grow and elect to serve in our armed forces, they do so with the love and admiration of those they have left back in towns like our own. With painful frequency, some have had to lay down their lives far from home so that those they love and cherish may never know the horrors of oppression, fear, and surrender, as it exists in many places in the world where they are sent to perform their combat duty. Arriving in combat, they are often numerically outnumbered by the enemy and bound to adhere to established rules of engagement that seek to avoid needless destruction and to promote the preservation of innocent civilian lives. They possess the maturity and character to represent America in a positive manner to those whom we liberate from tyranny. They know how to be ferocious in battle and gracious in victory. Those that do not fall on the field of battle live with the visible and invisible scars of sacrifice, and they live out their futures in a way that honors those comrades who selflessly gave up all of their tomorrows in valorous sacrifice for the preservation of their friends, family, and our country. I remember what was told to me by my commander nearly 10 years ago when I was a young and anxious captain about to board a helicopter waiting to take us into my first time in combat. He thanked us for what we were about to do, which would be the most difficult task of our lives, but what we had trained countless hours to prepare for. He reminded us that our enemy facilitated in the planning and execution to come to our homeland to murder and attack buildings of civilians working in offices just going about their daily lives. He said, "Now is the time when our country meets those Americans who have the duty to protect the innocent. That we wear the uniform that represents a free people, and they deserve to have us put forth our best effort to continue to earn the respect, gratitude, and credibility which those who have gone before us have earned." They are words I will never forget, and have passed on to my troops through the years, every time before we hit the ground on every mission by hastily stating, "Remember who we are, and remember what we stand for." For those that were killed in action during my tours, we were always unable to properly mourn and honor their sacrifice at that time in the midst of a combat environment. So this speech serves as a eulogy, and Memorial Day is a tribute to them. Both the living and the dead who have worn our nation's uniform have been blessed to be part of something greater than ourselves. We have had a direct impact on preserving the gift of freedom that has been passed on through generations. Those faithful guardians have displayed honor, courage, and sacrifice and held the line from being sentenced to 1,000 years of darkness of oppression and tyranny. Through their service and sacrifice in the greatest and most just military force that this world has ever known, they have fulfilled a promise that our nation will not fall under their vigilant watch. Those that have perished were titans of strength and character, and citizens of this nation owe them gratitude for every sunrise on America where we all awake as free people. And when we drive past monuments like this, we will continue to whisper a grateful thank you to those that have secured our freedom. In their honor and appreciation for selfless service, let us make our time remaining on this earth productive. Serve each other, as we do in our churches and community organizations. Love our families as if they won't be around forever, always remembering that we would not be able to do all those positive activities were it not for those brave men and women who sacrificed all of their tomorrows so that we as Americans may have ours. Thank you, East Fishkill, and may God bless the United States of America.